I'm curious. Your dad was a Gordon and Smith shaper,
Yeah.
and then left the beach and went to the mountains.
Yeah, it's funny. So he got into shaping with um, Gordon Smith out of college. Again, he went to San Diego State, late '60s, and he started shaping, or he actually started patching boards with Laird Hamilton's dad, Billy Hamilton.
Oh wow.
And so they started together and kind of came up the ranks. And Skip Fry was like the big shaper down there for
Yeah.
longboards, the legend, you know. Um, and I got to meet all these guys as kids, you know, it's just all these different legends and stuff. But so my dad got good. He was an innovator in the long to shortboard era. He actually shaped the Magic. That was one of his designs. So it's actually their highest selling board to date.
Wow.
So he just had he's an artist, you know, and he just had this like, you know, he was always pushing the limits. As a surfer, he was the guy that would be by himself out on some crazy unknown rocky point, just dropping into like the biggest surfer he could find.
No
And so
fear.
if yeah, no fear, and just like, you know, to the outside onlooker would be like, that guy's got a death wish, but he was just looking for the extremes. So if you wanted to find like the remote break in California back in the late '60s, you went and found Dennis Benadum, and you know, if you're lucky, he'd take
So
you with him.
was he a big Santa Cruz Island surfer?
Yeah, so he moved to Carpinteria and started Sundance surfboards, and he actually taught George Greeno, and those guys were up there in Carpinteria, and they were shaping, and so they were all. He was kind of bringing the new information up from the city, you know, to the country kids. But they started shaping up at Rincon, and then he got a job on Santa Cruz Island as a hunting guide. And so him and all his buddies went out there full time, and they did that for 10 years. And they hunted pigs, and they had a business because it was a privately owned island at the time. And the doctor, they called him, he basically had a company that would fly in hunters from around the world. They take them on a trophy pig hunt, and my dad and his
Do they have an airstrip out there?
they do, yeah. So they
Oh,
had,
I didn't know that.
yeah, they actually lost a couple planes like right into the cliffs, like
Wow.
in their time out there. So a sketchy airstrip, but it's out
Yeah.
there. But yeah, and then there's a ranch headquarters where the doctor lived, and they had a pool and a church. And it was like a little town, and the other side of the island was the hunters' camp. So they were like the workers, you
Does
know.
that still exist on the island?
Yeah, the ranch is still all there and preserved. The doctor actually died choking on a Cornish game hen
Oh,
in his dining hall on the island.
irony.
But his yeah, exactly. But his daughter actually left, or his children left, or donated the island to the Nature Conservancy. So now it's
Sure.
government owned. But all that stuff's preserved. Yeah, so you can go out there and you can see the whole town. And so I was almost raised out there. Right before I was born, my mom said, "You know what? I can't raise a kid on this island." So they moved to Colorado on a whim, and my dad had a buddy building houses, and was like, "Hey, come out to the mountains and build houses." He's like, "All right, let's switch it up." So he left the ocean, and that's
Good
how
for
they got
him.
there. Yeah,
I that's one of my favorite places to surf in the world. I love it over there.
yeah, yeah.
And but I wonder. So is that what they did? They would surf all the time.
He had surfed so much in the years prior to that the surfing was like becoming more and more back burner.
Oh,
So
I
I
see.
mean,
It's so
he surfed,
fun
but
there.
he was the only one out there. So he was surfing out there, and he brought his boards. He had it out there, but they were working pretty full time, and they also had a cattle ranch business out there, so they were cowboys as well. So
Wow.
they had a lot going on. So he did surf, but I think he was like super extreme. So he was like master something, do it, go all in on it, and then okay, I'm done, move on to something else.
I have friends like that.
Yeah,
I have friends that are definitely like that. For
yeah.
the people listening, Santa Cruz Island is about an hour by boat off of Santa Barbara, Ventura, and please don't go there. Just don't go there.
Excellent. It's actually
Uh,
off of New York, isn't it? It's like right off of New York.
yeah, that's where it is. Alaska,
Alaska.
Alaska, I
Yeah,
meant.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I wonder, like, if those guys, like your dad and his buddy, if they're the ones who kind of founded those spots, because as
Surf
surfers,
wise, well, and actually George Greeno and my dad, they when George shaped his first fiberglass boat, like full watertight, and would roll it in the
oh, those
river.
are the ones that everyone has out there.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
he like when
the
he
little
was
tugboat. It looks like a
yeah,
tugboat.
tugboat, yeah. So they when he pioneered that whole concept, him and my dad would take it out to the island, and that was like the first time anybody had been out there. I mean, nobody even. It's late '60s, man. There was not a lot of people,
And
you know.
that's a tough channel. People don't understand that sometimes, like going out there. Because I thought about getting a wave runner to just go out, and guys are like, I don't know if you want to go through that
Yeah,
out there on a wave runner. It
that's a
gets
lot.
sketchy.
Yeah, it
Like
does.
when the swell's big,
Yeah,
you don't want to be out there.
when you're going out for
And
a surf, like it's probably the wrong time to be on Yeah,
Yeah,
jet skis.
yeah.
Yeah,
And but I always wondered like who found this because sometimes there won't be swell there. So they had to
yeah,
go a lot
yeah.
to see it. Those boats too are what? I've heard those boats are like
Are
$250,000.
they
Like,
now? Oh,
yeah,
yeah. That's
they're
crazy.
insane.
Yeah,
They're insane. I have two friends that own one,
yeah,
and I kind of looked at them when I saw them, and I'm like, oh, this is your boat,
yeah.
and they're like, yeah, and I'm like,
This is the whole thing for
yeah, I was
250
like,
grand, really?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is hmm,
Small.
you're yeah. And apparently they're just like the coolest things in the world because
Yeah,
they're like you said, watertight.
yeah.
Like they say you can like roll in
You
them.
can, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what like my dad would tell me stories about when him and Greeno would actually like take them into waves to actually roll them and see what would happen. I mean, if the surf was big enough and it wasn't some really shallow break, they would actually do that. But yeah, some of the stories, those guys were crazy.
So did you learn to shape? Do you know how to do it?
I never learned to shape, and my dad told
Wow.
me, he goes, I taught you to build houses because I thought that was just more a better life. He's like, to be covered in foam dust all day and fiberglass. He's like, it's not. I
It's
thought I could give you
dangerous.
more than that. And so,
It's dangerous, isn't it?
I mean, he never mentioned that per se, but just as far as like quality of life, and I think he just got bored of it after a time. And he had, I mean, he estimated he shaped 10,000 boards.
Oh my
So he
God.
did so many boards, and he had
Do you
like,
have any do you have any of his?
yeah, I wish I had it sitting right here. I should go grab it. It's like he had this one that was three tails. There was like two channels cut up from the tail about 18 inches long, so that the tail flexed, and just some crazy stuff that he was working on. Yeah, but then he just moved on. But yeah, I got some of the boards.
Do you surf a lot?
Yeah, when I moved to California, I was 21. I didn't get out of the water for 10 years. Every day, man. Didn't matter if it was flat. I'd go out and lobster dive and surf, or I mean, I'd swim, whatever. It's like had to be in the water. So yeah.
Yeah, I love it too. I will stay in the water all day
Oh
long, like
God, it's hard with
completely.
kids, man. As I gotta say, it's like it's
I
tough.
know I'm just having these discussions with my wife because if you're not from California, like most of the people listening, you don't understand our water's cold as shit.
Yeah.
It's freezing.
It,
It's like today it's 60 degrees in the water.
yeah.
And kids don't like that. And they don't want to like frolic and play in it all day long because they freeze to death. I even put
Yeah.
my kids in wetsuits, they get cold. Uh, I was just down in Cabo this weekend, and we were in Cabo and we went surfing like Zippers and the Rock and all those places. And
Oh yeah.
it was great because it was 80 some degrees in the water. It was great. And then we went up to Cerritos around the bend
Oh,
and
and
we were
it's
no longer in the
freezing.
Sea of Cortez.
Yeah.
It was so cold and we didn't have wetsuits and the waves
Yeah.
were pumping. And my friend's like, come on. I'm like, I'm not going in.
Yeah.
He's like, why not? I'm like, it's just miserable. He's like, look at these waves. I'm like, it's miserable.
It's
Eh,
the trippiest thing about Cabo. It's like right around the corner. How dang cold that water is.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
such a
And
trip.
people are like, oh man, Cerritos is a better wave and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no,
Nah,
I need the warm water.
give me zippers. I'll fight the
Uh,
crowds.
yeah, I need this warm water.
Or Nine Palms, man. I like going up the East Cape
The
too.
East Cape.
Yeah,
Yeah. We were gonna go up to shipwrecks, but
yeah. I heard I
it,
haven't been up there since it's been paved. I guess it's paved all the way up.
oh, we so I rented this car. You know how like every car is like a one cylinder car down in
Oh yeah,
Mexico. We rent this like one cylinder, and my buddy's like 6'2", 6'3" or something, and I put him in the passenger seat. The boards don't fit, so he's got to sit all the way up. And I'm like, let's go to shipwrecks because it looks like the winds are good. And he's like, you mean I got to sit in this car for an hour on a dirt bumpy road? And I'm like, oh, shut up.
shut up. It's the adventure, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we didn't go because of that.
Oh man.
But we drove to Cerritos anyway. So
Oh man.
he sat in that seat.